Hi everyone, it's Emma here, and today we're going to be doing a page from my Prima Travelling Journal. So I'm going to be doing an art journal page in this, and this is the daily book, and it's going to be something like this one. Not quite the same, but a lot of you have asked me how I made this one, so we're going to do something a little bit similar using the same techniques. So I have glued 2 pages together here, and the reason for that is because I used Tim Holtz Distress Oxide on this page, and I used a bit of water. Well, that made the page thinner, so I've glued 2 together, and then we're going to go right on the next page. We have had a bit of seepage here, but that really doesn't matter at the moment. So I'm going to be using, to start with, these 3 colours from the Distress Oxide range. Let's get them for you. So we're going to be using Spiced Marmalade, Vintage Photo and Peel Paint. So I'm going to start off with Vintage Photo, and I'm going to be using my blending tool and just taking a bit of this onto the blending tool and going from the edges and working in small circular motions and just building up some colour onto the page. Not being heavy-handed with this at all, I'm keeping it really quite light. So the reason I'm using Vintage Photo first is because I want the pages to have a very aged, worn look, and I think Vintage Photo really does that perfectly. So I find it easier to turn my book round and work with it that way as I'm going. And the good thing about keeping a really light pressure is that you can always build up if you want to. It's easier to build it up slowly than to just go in really heavy-handed and then have a really pigmented mess to blend out afterwards. Now, because my page isn't flat, I'm getting some really nice texture here over the little lumps and bumps, and I really like that. I think it just adds a bit more authenticity to it. Now the next colour I'm going to go in with is the Spiced Marmalade. And I'm just going to add touches of this, not too much. And then let's go in with a tiny bit of the peeled paint. Just going to tap off some excess onto my craft sheet there. I just want a couple of little hints of this green, not too much. So now I'm just going to add a tiny little spray of water. I don't want to saturate my page, as I learnt over here that it gets really thin, so I'm just going to add a very light misting and then watch as the ink oxidizes. I might just add a couple more up this top edge. There we go. Okay, so that's working nicely, so I'm just going to leave that page to completely dry now, and then I'll be back in a minute. Right, so I hope you can see the effect that I've got from that now. That's why I absolutely love these inks, they're fab. I can't wait for the new colours to come out on the 29th, it's so exciting. So, I've decided I wanted to add a bit of blue, so I'm going to go in with a tiny little bit of broken china. I just feel like it's missing from the page. So again, I'm just going to add a quick spritz and just leave the page to dry for a minute. So we'll put that aside to dry. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sheet of just plain cream copy paper, just the kind that goes in your printer, and I'm going to show you how I like to make sort of old torn book pages and how I like to get that effect. So going to rip my paper up, take the edges off, and this is to make embellishments for my page. So I'm going to rip these into little pieces. Some bigger than others. And then my favourite technique at the moment to do this is to use the Vintage Photo Distress Oxide again. Take one of the pieces of paper, take quite a lot of ink onto my blending tool and really cover this. Quite heavy-handed, get a lot on there. Still concentrating around the edges mainly. But then I want to really saturate that. And then I'll place another piece of paper on top to take away the excess and not waste the ink. And then I'll leave that to dry. And if this needs any more, I can just go in there and add some straight to the edges. Give that another bit of a spray. And then leave that to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of my bits of paper, and then we will start stamping. Okay, so all my bits of paper are dry now, and you can see the variations between them all, and that's what I love about this technique with the Distress Oxide, is that no two look the same, and they all just look really fabulously worn and old and torn. Love it. So now we're going to start stamping, and I'm going to be using some stamps from Paper Artsy. You don't need all these stamps, you can use anything with sort of, you know, book page entries or little tables and things like that. So I've got those three, And then to make some embellishments as well, I've also got these stamps from Paper Artsy, which I think are just really, really interesting, really different designs. So I'm going to be using those as well. Some of these I'll also be using for the background of the journal page too. So I'm probably not actually going to use all of these pieces of paper in this layout, but I can save them and then use them in something else. So let's start with this one. So we'll open these stamps up, and I'm going to be stamping on an acrylic block and with black archival ink from Ranger, which is a permanent ink, so if we spray any more water or anything over the top, it's not going to alter that. It's not going to destroy our images whatsoever. I'm really sorry, but my dog wants to bark again. I think there's some pigeons outside today and he's having a go at the pigeons, so. So all of my little pages are dry now. They're looking absolutely lovely. So what I'm going to do is just to add a bit more sort of depth to them and make them look more finished, I'm going to go around, using Ranger's Archival ink in sepia. And I'm just going to run this around the edges just to darken them up a little bit. So I'm going to do that on each and every one. Just gives them a little bit more of a shadow and makes them look more finished. You can almost say it gives them a sort of a burnt look as well, which I really enjoy. Right, so keeping that sepia out and also using archival ink in black, I'm going to start doing some stamping around the edges of the page just to give a bit of interest. So let's make a start with that. Okay, so still using my sepia ink pad, I'm just going to go right around the edges of the page just to add a bit more dimension and again make them look more finished, make them pop a bit more. I actually feel like there's something missing from here, and I feel like that's a map. So I've got this Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamp set, and I'm going to use a portion of this map here just to stamp around. Let's pull him off. So making sure I've got the right part. Yeah. And I'm going to go for that in black. And there we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how my background's looking now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time just playing around with my little bits and pieces, putting them together. And I'm also going to add in some other bits and pieces, which I've got here. So I've got this little transparent map, world map, and I think that's from a Tim Holtz ephemera pack. I'm not 100% sure because I just found it in my little stash of papers. So I've got that. I've got some Tim Holtz ideology flashcards. I've got these little Tim Holtz transparent tiles. I've got an ephemera pack from Prima, and this is the French Riviera pack. I've got this pack of architectures from Seven Gypsies, and these are really lovely. And all of the stuff that I'm using here is nice and flat, so it's not going to make my journal overly bulky, because this kind of journal, the paper isn't going to take as much weight, so we want to keep everything as flat as we can get it, reasonably flat. So I've got those as well. And I've also got some vintage map stickers, and these are from Cavallini & Co. Now, I may not use all of these, but I have a good selection that I can work with and just work out what I want to add to my page and where. So, play you a bit of music while I do that, and we'll see how we go. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do is, when I glued the elements down, I feel like I lost some of that blue that we added, and I really wanted to keep some of that in the page, keep a bit of colour. So I'm going to add some of this chalk turquoise spray, and that's an Aida mist from 13 Arts. And I'm just going to spray that directly onto my craft sheet, give it a good shake first. So spray a bit of that down. We only need a tiny bit. And then I'm just going to spray some water too, and just water it down a little bit, just so it's not so vibrant, so pigmented. And then I'm going to take a little tiny brush and a tiny bit of the pigment and just place it on in areas where I feel it needs it. So we can tilt the page and we can make it run and drip if we want to, and just spread it about a bit. And then I'm also going to use my finger and just pat it around, and just so that it's not such a, you know, a perfect look. And then I'm just going to go and carry on adding that in little areas that I feel that need it. So not too much though, just little tiny placements. And also, if you didn't want it this vibrant, you can always just water the mist down a lot more and make it more translucent. And so that is it. That is my finished page. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, then as always, please give it a like and subscribe down below, and that way that lets me know that you enjoy my videos and you want to see more of them. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.